Steve, you were at Wembley on Tuesday watching two Charlton Academy graduates play in the same England defence. How was that evening for you?
Well, it fills you with enormous pride. It's almost like a surreal moment, really, because looking at the two lads, with Joe coming onto the pitch so early in the game as well, and being able to watch both of them on the pitch for, best part of 80 minutes in a packed Wembley against a top-class team like Belgium. It was a great night for me to reflect on as I'm watching the game. Really proud of those two boys, and I know lots of other academy staff are here as well, and also to catch up with them afterwards.
And how was that catch up with them after the game?
Well, it was, again, another one of those moments to cherish, really, because I'm sat there with my wife and my son, who I took to the game, and suddenly from behind me, tap on the shoulder, and the two lads have come over, just to have a word. So I spent a good 10-15 minutes with them, and then went over also to meet their families, because it was good to catch up with their families. In some cases, first time in quite a while.
And starting with Ezri, it was his full debut on Tuesday. Do you remember when you first met him and his journey through Charlton?
Well, his journey started a little bit later than Joe. He came in as an under-12. I remember both journeys very well, of course, and I suppose what sticks in the mind most of all is those latter years when they were at Charlton. First of all, breaking through as under-16s, as Ezri did, into the under-18s. And then, of course, figuring successfully in an under-18 team, as we've had in a lot of those age groups over the years. And then going on to his pro contract and establishing himself in our first team.
And Joe as well, you've spoken about him a lot before, but how pleased have you been watching his development and his progression this season as well?
Well, with Joe, a little bit more of a longer journey, came in at under 10, of course. But similar to Ezri, they both demanded with their ability and their physical capabilities to play in age groups above, which they did, particularly from under 14 onwards. Both, Joe breaking into that under-18 team very early as a 15-year-old, and of course breaking into our first team that little bit earlier than Ezri did as well. They both kind of bypassed the under-21s, really. That sometimes happens, not very often, but I've got fond memories of both lads' journeys.
And are there any specific moments that stick out in their time at Charlton, maybe starting with Ezri and then on to Joe?
I think, well, there'll be many individual performances that I can kind of recall where they excelled, but in both cases, I think what does stick about in my mind is that, again, when they were selected for England at international youth level. Joe figuring in an under-17 team that was successful in the European Championships, and Ezri doing likewise, when he went with that team to the World Cup and they won the World Cup. So watching them play at international level, for sure, but without specifically remembering their debuts, watching them play at first team level, and stepping out onto the Valley, or even in an away game that I might have gone to, watching them wear the Charlton shirt that's what we're in it for.
And following on from their time at Charlton and obviously their England appearances so far, they've got an interesting few months ahead of themselves as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, yeah. They'll probably be sitting nervously, wondering whether they can make that final Gareth Southgate squad. But they've got plenty to be getting on with in terms of Premier League games, because both teams obviously challenging within those top four positions. I think they're the kind of lads who, as they always did here, they just seem to take things in their stride, whether it's a challenge that's facing them, as there will be in these remaining Premier League games for them. In Joe's case, with him suffering with injuries the last couple of years quite a bit, something that, they're both very resilient, I feel, and Joe in particular has had to be that over these last 2 years to establish himself once again at Liverpool and get back into this England squad.
Watching them play together for England, how much of an inspiration will that be for our young academy players here at Sparrows Lane?
Well, it just shows them what is achievable, really. I mean, there's plenty of photographs around this place of Joe and Ezri. in Charlton shirts, in England shirts when they were younger. And the fact that we've got two players who are playing at the very highest level of football in this country, in the top league in the world. All players, I think, have that dream, don't they, to become a professional footballer, and players, quite rightly, have a dream to play at the highest level. What I would say about these two lads is clearly they had ability, to be able to play at the levels that they've played at and continue to do so. But there was always lots of desire, lots of dedication, wanting to listen, wanting to learn, make sacrifices, and being supported hugely, not just by the people here, but by their family as well. But it's great that you've got two lads playing for England against Belgium, against Brazil, and they've both come through the system here. And I've had plenty of young players come up to me this week, and I've been asking them, whether they watched the game and watched our two lads. And you do have to remind some of the younger boys as well, the very younger boys in the academy, that the two lads did come through here.